U.S. Embassy Compound, Saigon, January 31st, 1968, 2:47 a.m. The Tet Offensive is on. 17 Viet Cong commandos have blasted a hole in the outer wall of the complex and are pouring through it. 2 military policemen at a guard shack on the interior grounds managed to shoot the first 2 VC through the hole, the group's leaders. But the MPs also die in this initial exchange of gunfire. Some 15 sappers remain. But now leaderless and without a clear plan of action, they spend the next 3.5 hours hiding behind columns and massive concrete planters lining the embassy grounds. And most get picked off by a smattering of Marine Embassy guards and a contingent of Army MPs called to the scene.
By dawn's light, the MPs are piled up outside the embassy, and you've got a few last sappers who are still alive, wounded, still fighting.
Private First Class Paul Healy of the 716th Military Police Battalion is at the center of this fracas. The MPs pull up a jeep next to the compound, and Healy uses it to his advantage.
It was like perfect, because I could climb up on top of the jeep and look over the wall. Then I had to reach over and fire. I know I hit 4 or 5 several times.
As dawn turns to morning and the crisis wears on, Healy is determined to enter the compound and try to help anyone trapped in the embassy. But the main gate of the compound is chained and padlocked. So the young PFC jumps behind the wheel of his Jeep and tries to ram it open. It won't give. So he jumps out and, risking enemy fire, stands on the vehicle and shoots the lock open with his .45 caliber pistol. He is then the first to rush into the compound and up to the main door of the embassy, M16 in hand.
Put myself against the door and was banging my rifle against the door because I could see there was 2 Marines inside. And at that point, I felt something hit my leg. And it was a Chinese Communist grenade.
Healy spots the body of a dead VC and jumps behind it. The dead enemy takes most of the blast, but the MP catches a small piece of shrapnel in his hand. Healy jumps up and moves toward the edge of the building. Rounding the corner, he confronts and kills 2 more Viet Cong attackers, one in a face-to-face shootout.
Close enough, I could kick him in the face. That's how close he was.
The adrenaline-charged PFC continues toward the rear of the building as other MPs rush into the compound behind him. He makes his way toward a 2-story villa at the rear of the property. It's the home of an assistant to the ambassador, retired Army Colonel George Jacobson.
Jacobson has spent the battle in this villa without a weapon, basically, hoping the Viet Cong aren't going to come into his living area.
As Healy reaches the villa, he meets up with one of the Marine Embassy guards. The 2 approach the rear door of the building and spot a bloody sandal near the stoop and a blood trail leading inside.
We yell inside, the military police, anybody in there, and George Jacobson is upstairs, and he says, yes, and watch out, because there is somebody in there.
A wounded Viet Cong has come into Colonel Jacobson's villa. Jacobson now is on the 2nd floor without a weapon.
While other MPs surround the building, Healy and the Marine attempt to enter. They fire short bursts as they go. As they approach a kitchen area, the barrel of an AK-47 assault rifle appears from the door of a pantry and wildly sprays the room with bullets. The Americans back off for a moment, then lob in a percussion grenade and try again.
We get in about 8 steps, and he sticks his rifle out and just sprays. The Marine catches one on the groin. So that stops us.
Healy pulls the wounded Marine outside. Now furious, he tosses in a canister of tear gas.
And it goes off, and I don't have a gas mask. And the fumes sucked back out, and I was overcome by my own gas.
Fellow MPs rush to Healy's aid and drag him to safety near the front of the embassy.
Then I get some air, and they asked me to stay there. And then I got this guy upstairs that doesn't have a gas mask, and I'm throwing gas into it.
Healy is now a man possessed. He grabs 2 gas masks from fellow MPs and runs back to the villa. Jacobson is at an upstairs window, and Healy tosses a mask up to him.
And then I said, "You got a gun?" He said, "No." So I took my .45, tossed that up.
Finally, with Jacobson wearing a gas mask and able to protect himself, the MPs toss in more gas and prepare to charge inside once again. But it's not necessary. The gas has already driven the VC fighter out of his hiding place and into Colonel Jacobson's line of fire.
This last Viet Cong is coming up the steps, just blindly firing through the tear gas. He misses Colonel Jacobson, and Colonel Jacobson has a .45 in hand and does not miss the Viet Cong.
And with that, the U.S. Embassy compound in Saigon is secure once again. Even so, elsewhere in Saigon and across South Vietnam, the enemy's Grand Tet Offensive is far from over. Miles below the capital, along the Mekong Delta, firefights between attacking forces and South Vietnamese defenders have erupted in a dozen towns and villages. Far to the north, 2 regiments of North Vietnamese Army regulars are storming the ancient imperial city of Hue. And in the greater Saigon area itself, 3 U.S. air bases, the Presidential Palace, and the National Broadcasting Facility are all under simultaneous assault. Gradually, though, as enemy attacks one by one begin to fail, VC and NVA forces start to exfiltrate the Saigon area back to their jungle sanctuaries in the north. As U.S. fighting units discover them, new battles ignite.